The Sword of Ultimate Sorcery, most coveted prize, was never given out, and it's unclear if it still exists. Some rumors suggest it was either stolen, sold, or hidden away by Atari's management after the contest was canceled. I've seen a lot of different opinions about the sword. Welcome gamers, non-gamers, PvEers, PvPers, and even NPCs. This is the New Wave Gaming Podcast, and we don't discriminate. ChukTomahawk, welcome back, man. Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I had some crazy technical difficulties last weekend, and we recorded a whole episode. We won't mention what it was about because we'll probably come back to it. But man, I had some severe technical difficulties, and long story short, fellow gamers, esteemed listeners, we couldn't get an episode up last week, but here we are, reporting in, and fixed the technical difficulties.
Nice.
Chuck T.
Cool.
Yeah, dude. And thanks again for last weekend. Yeah?
Yeah.
I might not even throw effects on this thing. That's perfect. So apologies there. And it's good to be back. And we got a fun one, this fun discussion, I think, this episode. We wanted to talk about a mystery, an unsolved mystery that takes us back to the 1980s, baby, which is the decade I was born in, but certainly one I missed out on, I think, in a lot of fun, cool ways. I think the 80s was a unique decade, action-packed,
Yeah.
certainly in the movies. Oh, man. Certainly in the movies. But I'd say it was also action-packed for gaming. And we wanted to talk about the Swordquest mystery, because I don't remember how. I think I was just kind of experimenting with GPT, the artificial intelligence there, supposedly, messing with that. And I just was thinking, what are the craziest gaming stories out there? And I typed something to that effect right in there. And, it didn't say, this is the craziest, like this one. But it definitely listed a few things, some things that we've already talked about. But what caught my attention was this Swordquest mystery. And a lot of other great gaming topics came out of that. But, well, shoot, Chuck, should we just start with what this is?
Yeah.
Like the background? I'll read off here a little summary that I put together. But basically, look, this is the Swordquest mystery. It's one of the most fascinating and enduring stories in video game history, blending elements of treasure hunting, literal treasure hunting, corporate intrigue, and unsolved mysteries. That was the X-Files little thing. Completely unrelated. And this is a detailed look at the Swordquest saga. This is the background. Atari and the Swordquest series. It's a video game. In the early 1980s, Atari was the dominant force in the video game history. We've talked about Atari before, Chuck. Plenty, I think.
Fuck yeah.
And they sought to create a gaming experience that went beyond the screen. This led to the creation of the Swordquest series, which was more than just a set of video games. It was a grand contest involving puzzles, comics, and real-life treasure. Real-life treasure.
Who does that?
Dude,
Who says,
right?
Let's create some treasure?
Right? I mean, should we take a quick little stop there and break that down? Real-life treasure, Chuck. And we're going to get to what those treasures look like, but usually we're talking about cash money, right? I think that's kind of like the go-to prize in most contests, even in today's gaming, right?
Like even, back in that era, like Publishers Clearinghouse or whatever, they brought a big check to your house, or whatever. It was like, you won $1 million. And,
They give you like a big cutout of a check.
Yeah.
Is that still a thing?
Probably so.
Probably, right?
Probably
like in
so.
golf competitions and those types of, you know?
Yeah. And there was always like there would be some disclaimer. Like some states have it where like I think the person has to be revealed, and some states don't. But it's always like like you actually won this, but you got to pay taxes, so you got this X, Y, and Z going on. So
yeah,
you got to be pretty ambitious to say what could we give for a prize? Like should we give like a couple of Ataris or some cartridges? It's like, no, let's
that would almost be like, okay, I can see that. But see, the wording here is very specific. It's real life treasure. Just the wording completely takes the whole concept of what we're talking about here and puts it on a different shelf. It puts the gamers. It kind of changes your mindset here. Like, what kind of it at least puts the intrigue in in the gamer as to like, well, what kind of competition, what kind of contest is this here? Right?
Yeah.
And I think this also came off of Atari's success. I think it was Atari, I'm pretty sure, but they had made a game called Adventure. I think it was, and it was pretty successful.
Absolutely, dude.
And
I didn't know whether to interject this in right now, but I actually have some insight into this whole situation because of that game. It was one of my absolute favorite games on the Atari. Excuse me. And actually, I saw some information that says it's kind of what was the inspiration for this, because you had I brought up his name here so I wouldn't screw it up. Let me pull my little screen over here. There was a guy looking for one of the creators of the game. His name is Warren Robinette, and he did a thing in this adventure game where you basically had to pick up this invisible item and kind of take it and use it to get into a certain area of the screen. And it was that time period like where the creators of the game, like the actual like programmers were kind of like their names weren't put on the packaging and all that kind of shit. So he kind of like put the first console Easter egg in. I think there's like some other games that have gotten credit like Moonlander or something for the first Easter egg. But as far as consoles go, this was the first one. He put his little name in there. And like it eventually got out, and even I found that as a kid. Like I was able to find that room and like, was like just amazed. And
well, what do you didn't really say? What do you mean though? Can you break that? I remember what you're talking about.
He created a room in the game Adventure, which is it's a game with fairly crappy graphics, and the dragons are you got to use
you're being nice, brother.
Use a lot of
you're
imagination.
Being nice, brother.
So yeah,
I mean, this is the 80s,
but it did have kind of like some secretness to it, and it had like a sword type thing, and it was fairly complex for its time, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. It had that Dungeons and Dragon kind of vibe, and when I say Easter egg, like I guess the reason it kind of seems like I'm not saying what it is because it really was nothing. Like by today's standards, it simply was this man's name like flashing in a room that you had to go get an invisible key to get into, and that's it. Like show's over. Like
that's so huge. Like you're so right. And yeah, so he made this like room with his name in there, and I think I watched some videos on this recently, and I guess there was like a tiny little dot that most people would never pay attention to, and if you picked up that little dot and like moved it to a specific point in another section of the game, like it would open up that room. You could go in, you see his name, and I don't remember the details here, but like just as you described, they didn't have rights to put like their authorship or their development, or any of their credits on the game or in the game or anywhere like that. And these are just some of those policies that end up leading to the game crash, which we're going to get to here. But what they also spotted was that Easter egg, and I think this was the very first Easter egg ever. I might be wrong there. If I'm wrong, fellow gamers, reach out and please correct me. But I think it was like the first,
at least for console.
Mm-hmm. And that what Atari and the corporate brass realized is that when that happened, it actually brought a lot of attention to the game. Gamers loved it, and it kind of boosted like their sales. And I think that's kind of what led to them going like, hey, let's.
That's the same thing I heard. And what sucks for me as a kid, like I loved the shit out of that game and everything, but I never heard of this contest. Like I would have been all about this. And
I wanted to ask you about that actually,
yeah, that
because it seems like
I wonder how they got
like you'd probably been one of the 50 in that.
Wonder how they got the word out exactly. I saw like there was something in a video. There was something like some kind of publication like that started with an R or something that they put it in. But like how like it had to have been a commercial on TV. Or something I heard on the radio, maybe, or where the hell would it have? How would it have made it to East Tennessee? Like,
yeah, like in those magazines and those that they'd mail in and everything.
Yeah,
know?
word of
like
mouth,
the JCPenney,
or some
the
kind
Sears
of magazine.
or the JCPenney magazines. Yeah, those like what are those called? Home order magazines, or something like that.
Yeah, and in our town
Maybe.
there was this place called the Daily News or something that was like a throwback from way back in the day that would be like the go-to place to get magazines. And if it was something that crotchety old man that ran that thing didn't like you weren't seeing it in our town. But yeah, so I don't know that there was any hope of me getting in on that, but I would have loved it.
All right, well, so let's keep breaking down this mystery here. I think I'm gonna keep going. So the Swordquest series consisted of 4 planned games, each representing one of the classical elements: Earthworld. Oh, these are the names of the games: Earthworld, Fireworld, Waterworld, and Airworld. And basically, players had to solve intricate puzzles within each game, and clues were provided in accompanying comic books. That's so badass. Solving these puzzles would lead to a series of hidden words or messages. All right. Yeah. Accompanying comic books, brother.
See, yeah.
Isn't that sick? That's so awesome, man. I'm feeling a wave of nostalgia coming upon me.
Especially for the day, because it's like an instantly collectible item. Plus, it kind of bridges that gap, like where they can't tell a story like as complex as like today's games do. You can use the comic book. And then, it seems like by now it's they like you mentioned, they sort of figured out that Easter egg thing was like actually something that sold a lot of video games. So now they're hiding shit in there. They're hiding shit in fucking magazines. They're hiding shit under the mattress probably. Like,
dude. And they went when they're like, I think, when Atari, they were doing good. They must have been doing damn good, man, before shit hit the fan, because guess who they gave a call to bust out these comics? Guess who they hired?
Not Stan Lee.
That's the Marvel guy, right?
Yeah, but
no, they went and they called his comp DC Comics.
No shit, they got
DC Comics to publish those comics, dude.
Jesus.
I mean, so hey, there's an answer. One of the answers to your question. Comic stores for sure. I bet you we're marketing this contest.
It would have been in there, yeah.
Oh, dude, all of the malls would have been, all the arcades and comic stores in the malls across the U.S. would have been definitely talking about this thing, getting kids all riled up.
Jesus.
Man. So, yeah, I just think that's so cool because, we've talked about, I think we did a whole episode on how buying video games has changed over the years, and we kind of talked about, those experiences as buying games when they were in boxes and stuff, and getting to go to the big stores and all that. And and this just brings me back to that, how, you buy this game and it come packaged with a comic book from DC it's a cool throwback to a different time of gaming. Okay.
I'm afraid it's past though. Gosh.
Now, I want to pause real quick and just say, this is all actual. This isn't a mystery here. Like, this contest was real. It took place. Of course, we all know that Atari is certainly a real company. There's no mystery behind that. This is nonfiction right here.
Yeah.
Tell him, Chuck. Tell him.
Well, so
Nonfiction.
where we're at is they had that adventure game. It kind of inspired these Swordquest games, and they're going to make 4 of them, like kind of in connection with a contest. And that's where they start kind of. There's some information in the game and in the comic books as well, I guess, that you got to ultimately find some clues, even way the hell harder than finding dudes.
Oh yeah, it's like I think the contest is kind of like a marketing strategy to get the game to sell well, right? And I think it did. I think like I might be wrong here. Don't quote me on this, fellow gamers, but I think like Earthworld sold like 500,000 copies or something. Damn. Which I think is good for the time.
Sounds like a lot,
but okay, so the contest. This happened. This is real. Atari promised that the first player to solve the puzzle in each game and submit the correct answer to the puzzle would be eligible to compete in a final contest at Atari's headquarters. The winners of these contests would receive elaborate, custom-made prizes related to the theme of each game. So each prize, which we've already made clear that is it's a treasure. Each one of these treasures is detailed to each one of the games, right? And the overall game here is called Swordquest, and then it's a series, and each one has its respective like subtitle name, Earthworld, Fireworld, Waterworld, Airworld. Okay. And I think each one of these had like a deeper connection to like certain philosophies, world philosophies. I don't remember each one, but like one of them had to do, I think, with
Cabal
like
or something.
Yeah, like
different.
You just like there's very deep philosophical beliefs. It's really interesting stuff. Really cool. Like. It just seems like a well thought out game, at least in that respect, as to like its essence. Anyways, custom made prizes, custom made treasures related to the theme of each game, and these are Earthworld, and the treasure or prize in the Earthworld game is the Talisman of Penultimate Truth. And dude, let me get a quick pause here. But after playing 100 hours of Elden Ring. When I read something like the Talisman of Penultimate Truth, it really, 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 really makes me want to go explore the lands between, man.
Wonder how that buffs you up.
Yeah, like what does that do? Increases strength, increases vigor, or whatever, Yeah, so that definitely made me think of Elden Ring.
Yeah.
But check this out, dude. The Talisman of Penultimate Truth is a gold and platinum medallion adorned with diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and a mini sword valued at $25,000. A gold and platinum medallion adorned with diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and a mini sword. That's the first prize for the first game and the first contest winner. The first winner of this contest at large here. And I don't know if to mention it now or to mention it once I go through them all, but I guess I'll just put this out there. When we were checking out this topic, I think the total prize value is $150,000, man. And I saw somewhere around there, when they do like, if we convert it to today's money or something like that, it was somewhere around like 500,000.
$500,000. Jeez.
Something like that, yeah. And again, the thing isn't the money here. It's just like the prize type, if you're don't get me wrong, 25K would be awesome. But there's something to that for a gamer, especially a dedicated enthusiast gamer, to getting a gold and platinum medallion adorned with diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and a mini sword. Let me tell you, brother. I think I would wear that thing. I'd wear that to the mini super. I'd wear that to Costco. I'd wear that over to the taco stand, brother.
I think especially too because ultimately you kind of had to fight for it in the game, right? Like you had to come up with these clues, and that led them down to about like so many people that they had to, like almost like a video game showdown to see who finally got the thing, right? Like,
oh so, yeah, and I think we should break that down too. Like, do you want to go through the prizes first and then talk about like what they had to do, or
dude, the prizes I'm so torn about, dude. Like, let's
just mention what they are, and then right. I know what you want to dive into.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the reins. You can totally dive in that. Okay, so that's the first game and the first prize. The second game, Fire World, the winner did receive the Chalice of Light. I keep thinking about Elden Ring. This is a gold and platinum chalice studded with gems, also valued at $25,000. The third game, Waterworld, the prize and treasure is the Crown of Life. Oh, this is a gold crown encrusted with diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and aquamarines. Value. I don't even know what that is, brother.
I don't either. I thought that was a color.
I thought that was a type of Topo Chico.
Delicious.
Valued at $25,000. In the final closing game, Airworld, you would receive the Philosopher's Stone. This is a large piece of white jade encased in a 18-karat gold box, valued at $25,000. So that takes us up to $100K right there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Dude, a Philosopher's Stone, man. You can go online and look at pictures of all this stuff, fellow gamers, and I highly recommend that you do, because when you see them, it's just like, no shit. It's like ChukTomahawk and Ovox weren't bullshitting. Like, this is like, it's a real freaking talisman, a real chalice of light, like some fucking Indiana Jones shit you see in the fucking Raiders of the Lost Ark or something. It's a real crown of life, or of gold, and then a real dude. The Philosopher's Stone looks insane. I was like, what do you even do with that? And then I know I can tell you got a lot to. Now, those four winners, because those are four stages of contests, so there'd be four winners there. They would then go and compete at Atari headquarters on special versions of the game to see who the ultimate grand prize winner would be. It says here, the ultimate grand prize for the winners of each game's contest. No, wait, of each game's contest. Well, that's not okay. There must be. I wrote this down wrong, but they're to compete, and the grand prize is called the Sword of Ultimate Sorcery. Yeah, the Sword of Ultimate Sorcery. And this is a sword made of pure silver with gold inlays encrusted with diamonds and other precious gems, valued at $50,000.
Jesus.
What?
Full-size sword.
Dude, brother, it's the Sword of Ultimate Sorcery, man. So that it means it shoots glintstone gems and everything, dude.
Jesus.
You can hit, yeah.
And the sword in the game kind of looked like an arrow. Like if you were making a little arrow that was pointing like go left, and you drew it like with a pen.
Yeah.
That was the sword.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That was the sword.
Yeah. But man, that's just I don't know what to say. It's just when it says the ultimate grand prize, and you can't just help but be like, yeah, that is the ultimate grand prize, dude. Imagine.
I mean, like just in magnificence and like, wow, what a, just one of a kind of thing. Like kudos to them for imagining something so amazing. But as far as like practicality, and if I'm a kid, like, and I got to throw the Philosopher's Stone in my backpack for get on the school.
No, yeah,
it's not going to end well.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, what do you do with that, man? But okay, and something that I didn't write down in my notes here, but that I do remember is that, and that I remember even asking myself, and when I got the answer, it was really just like, oh damn. But one of the things I asked myself when I realized that they were talking about actual real life prizes of these types, I asked myself, well, you know, who did they call? You know, because like, think about this. This is the 80s, right? They're not rolling around with iPhones or anything like that. This is the time of hard landlines. And I think maybe the fax machine was still like in full swing, you know, stuff like that. A lot of emergent communication technologies where, you know, the computer was becoming a thing, you know. It was a really interesting time in those respects. But we're talking about landline phone calls here. So someone from Atari had to be like, all right, boys, gals.
We're bringing in the big guns.
They brought in the biggest of guns, I think.
Who could handle this? Only one name probably came forward.
Drop it on them.
And that was the Franklin Mint.
The Franklin Mint. And at least from what we found, it looks like the Franklin Mint is, you know, the same group that is like, you know, makes those, you know, minted coins that you'll see often on television where they're selling a set of different coins for a certain, you know, on, what are those telephone orders, you know, for $49.99 plus shipping and handling, we can send you this invaluable, you know, like set of coins with the President so-and-so, or, you know.
Yeah, a set of plates or something just impractical. Like, you know, it's like only one man could have led the country forward in such trying times. It was like my childhood was Ronald Reagan. Like I remember my grandma having those Ronald Reagan plates from the Franklin Mint, and like, you know, they basically like started a hobby for you too, because there'd be a whole fucking series of them things. Like you had to, you know, a new one was coming out, and you had to get this year's one, and come to find out, like I think they were minting all kind of shit down there. Like they must have had like a forge. They're like right there in Pennsylvania, close to Pittsburgh, all them Pittsburgh Steelers and shit, pounding out steel and foundries and shit. They can make anything you wanted. Like they were like, no problem. You need like
So they went full bore there with the with proper elaboration of these prizes and these treasures. Okay, so Chuck, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about how the actual game, like how the gamers would actually go about doing this. Like, you know, in the game, what they would do, and then how they would, you know, then relate that with the comic and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because I like that because I will say that is one of my best memories of that game, of playing Adventure, is finding that Easter egg. And I think it's cool that, you know, ultimately they figured out this is a good thing and kind of ran with it and, you know, started hiding shit, like we said earlier, everywhere. And because the way I took it, it sounded like it was fairly like some of it was fairly obvious, like even from just looking at the comic book, but other parts you had to find in the game somehow.
Okay, well, yeah, but I mean, yes, but what they did, at least the way it was described, is they'd go about, like in the first game, for example, Earthworld, they would go about finding these clues and stuff, and they'd complete these puzzles that would then produce a certain screen, and then that screen would have two sets of numbers, right? Did you see any of that?
I did see some of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was. That's kind of what I was referring to, is like how they actually moved forward with completing the contest steps and everything. Because I think, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think there were like thousands of people that participated, that sent in, or no, thousands of people participated, or, you know, got the game and so on and so forth, like tons, but only like 500 sent in. I don't remember the numbers here exactly, but like 500 sent in the actual answers to the puzzles, and then only like a very small amount, I think like 5 or something like that, actually got it all right. But so what they did is they'd complete these puzzles inside the respective games, in this case the first one, and then they would basically get these numbers, and then if it said, like, for example, the first clue was, let's say 10 and then 6. They'd then get the comic book for that game, and they go to page 10, and they'd look for like box 6 or, whatever the respective box was with the comic layouts. And then in that particular box, they would be, like you mentioned, a secret word kind of like written there. And then once you knew that you were looking for it, it would be very obvious that there was like a word there, like tower or quest. You'd be like, oh, there it is. Look, it's kind of inlaid in the picture here. Mm-hmm. Right? And then in each, at least in this first game, I remember there were like, you'd go through all the levels, you'd beat the game, and by that point, you would have done that 10 times. So you have 10 words. And then to send in the words that, to complete the puzzle, you'd have to send those into Atari. And there's like a little paper thing. I remember seeing a picture of it. It was like this little paper thing that they'd provide you with. Probably came with the game, and you just a little template, and you'd fill it out. Because again, this is the 80s, right? I mean, you're filling this stuff in with a Bic pen and mailing it in through the postal service and stuff like that. Putting it in an envelope, licking a stamp and all that classic shit. But 5 of the 10 words would be, fake, false words. They'd be rubbish. And you'd have to then look for another clue that would tell you how to determine which 5 of the 10 words were rubbish, right? And then leaving you with the 5 correct words. So, yeah. And in the case of the first game, Earthworld, what they've discovered is that on the very front or something like that, on the title of the comic, out of the whole title, there were 2 particular words that had a slightly different color to them. And the 2 words that had a slightly different color, the first one said prime, and then the second word was number. So what they did is they went back, the gamers that were successful, they went back and they looked at the 10 words and they took out the ones, or did they take them out or leave them? I don't know I think they took out the ones that had a total letter count that was a prime number, and they took those out, leaving them with 5 words. And then those 5 words from top to bottom formed a sentence. and then yeah, I know, dude, it's just like this super
complex.
It's it is, and but it's totally doable, But anyways, that's how they would do that.
It seems like they hit the mark fairly well, because you could. It would kind of suck if you didn't get any like correct ones, but like it seemed like they narrowed things down. They made a hard as fuck riddle, and still, I mean, it kind of goes with the prizes. If you're going to break out the $150 grand worth of prizes in those days, like it should be hard.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Well, in this first game and the first stage of the contest, it kind of went as planned, and it went well. And I don't have I should have written down the numbers for these things, but I think they ended up like having 5 contestants that had the correct sequence and got the correct puzzle solution right, and they were flown over to Atari. And then they competed. I think it was 5. Those 5 gamers competed, and ultimately the winner was a gentleman by the name of Stephen Bell. He won the Talisman of Penultimate Truth, I think that in interviews and stuff, he said he was just blown away. I think he's unemployed at the time. I think he was 20. And when they asked him what he was going to do with it, he said he was either going to melt it down and get money for it, or just like buy a car or something. It's like, come on, brother. Damn.
I like your idea of just wearing it, like, just rocking it, like, because I mean, he should. But
I mean, I am being a little. I am joking to some respect, because like when you see it, like, and I do encourage you to look at pictures of these prizes, because it will really like make your jaw drop, because they look exactly how you would want them to look and be, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'd actually be able to wear that around, but I would certainly like encase it, protect it, keep it. But hey, at the same time, those are my circumstances, so I can't speak for someone else.
It would be hard to keep that energy for years. Like, like eventually we'd be like, all right, dude, like we've heard enough about the Talisman. You won that 10 years ago.
It's not giving you a strength, Bob. Okay? It certainly hasn't helped you with your love life, brother.
Like, did I mention? And also, though, where do you sell? Like, who's your potential buyer for that? Like,
you'd go to a jeweler or pawn shop or something, or have like another mint. Hey, let me get that 12 gauge up there.
Yeah.
Well, what do you got for exchange? You're not going to believe what I got for exchange. This is the Talisman of penultimate truth right here, mister.
It's like, all right, you looking to sell it or pawn it? We'll loan you $200, son. Like, all right, that's a
$200.
That's a deal. Okay, well, nah, it's a tough one at that point, and yeah, just being afraid I would lose it, or one of those diamonds fall out, or I think if I was in his shoes and I won it, like I would probably try to sell it for sure. Like, and you would be under some pressure at that point because they've already told you it's worth $25,000, and so and then people start offering you 15. What do you do?
Yeah. But all right, we're rolling along here, and we still got to get to the mystery. This is what everyone's been waiting for. All right. So the contest began as planned, but it was never completed. Here's what happened. Number 1, Earthworld. A teenager named Stephen Bell, who we mentioned, won the first contest and received the Talisman of Penultimate Truth. When Fireworld released, the second contest was won by Michael Rideout, who claimed the Chalice of Light. And I'll just mention this real quickly. You can see pictures of him holding the Chalice of Light, and he claims that he still has it and is keeping it in safe. It's in safekeeping, and he wants to have it as kind of like a family heirloom to go on to his family. Now, Waterworld, the third game, was released, but only in limited quantities through a special mail order due to the impending crash of the video game industry in 1983. The winner of this contest is less well documented, but it is believed that a prize was awarded. After Airworld, the fourth game, it was never released, and the grand final contest to win the Sword of Ultimate Sorcery never took place. Yeah. Now, I also, just a quick mention here, I think the Waterworld prize, which was, what was that going to be? Wasn't the Crown of Life? That's right. That's the Crown of Life.
Or the
Crown of Life was the third prize, and then the Philosopher's Stone would have been the fourth prize. So, okay. The video game crash of 1983. We have a whole episode on this. We'd love for you to check it out. You can go back and listen to that for all the details about that bad boy. But the Swordquest contest was abruptly halted due to the video game crash of 1983, and this led to Atari's financial collapse. With the crash, Atari's new management canceled the remaining contests, and the promised grand finale never happened. What was the fate of the
fucked up day at work if you were like in charge of that contest? They're like cutting people like regular job, like people that do programming and shit. Like,
yeah, just imagine your boss coming out of the corner on for us. Hey, Johnson. Yeah, boss. Hey, that contest. Cut it. Boss?
Well, dude, like imagine when the auditors came in, they're like, you guys were doing what? Where have we been spending a little more than we're bringing in? It's like you made E.T. and you bought,
okay, guys, now, stop.
You bought a million copies of E.T.
Buried them.
And
then you went and got a sword made out of pure gold.
It'd be hard to pass the old red face test on that one. Like, It's like, yeah, we got a little out of hand there. Like, I don't know, Pac-Man. Like,
it's like Crown of Life, Sword of Ultimate Sorcery. Yeah, now that you mention it, we were a little we were a little out of ourselves in that old boardroom there.
Tell him about the first 4 things, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And then you're like, "Oh, there was one more thing. We were going to have like a grand finale." We had a sword made of silver, and yeah, we put a few diamonds.
It seemed like overkill, but everyone insisted.
That's when it fell apart. Like, I think
the sword of the sword is what ultimately caused the gaming crash of 1983. That's what's going to be the name of this episode.
I've got a hunch where it might be. Like I know like we're gonna like ultimately this is the thing. Like this is a mystery, but I think it might have been stuck up the ass of the guy that came up with that whole idea by the CEO of Atari.
Oh gosh.
Jesus, man, that would be so embarrassing. Like what could you do? Like it had to go. So they're like contest over at that point.
Okay. The fate of the prizes. The ultimate fate of the Swordquest prizes has been the subject of much speculation and mystery, and this is where the mystery is this is where the mystery thrives here. The Talisman and Chalice were awarded to their respective winners, but what happened to them afterward is unclear. Some reports suggest that they were sold, lost, or simply vanished over time. See, that's where I did see a bunch of different things where where the one guy's like, no, I just had it melted and sold for, I think he got like $15K, and then the other guy said that he does have it, so that doesn't seem right, but
you had to call back the Franklin man.
hey guys.
We'll go ahead and start those ovens back up.
Start churning that forge there, huh?
Yeah.
And the Crown of Life and the Philosopher's Stone were never awarded, and their whereabouts remain unknown. The Sword of Ultimate Sorcery, most coveted prize, was never given out, and it's unclear if it still exists. Some rumors suggest it was either stolen, sold, or hidden away by Atari's management after the contest was canceled. I've seen a lot of different opinions about the sword, and for that matter, about the Crown of Life and the Philosopher's Stone as well. One of the leading theories behind this mystery regarding their whereabouts is that the CEO, Jack Tramiel, who I think was he was like the Commodore guy that ended up buying Atari and all that. Apparently there's been reports that he has like the sword hanging over his fireplace. Of course, Jack Tramiel, rest in peace, passed away. Was he an okay guy or was he like an evildoer? I'm gonna go with he was an all right person and just say rest in peace.
He was all right, I feel like, and ultimately, but I think.
But that's the rumor though
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense.
I don't know if it does, because the other leading theory is that that those items went back to the Franklin Mint as the actual holder of the rights to the actual items, But when I heard that theory, I also thought, well, why would the Franklin Mint have the rights to those items if they were made for Atari? But that's something that you or I will never able to know for sure, because we'd have to look at lots of paperwork to find that out.
Because that certificate of authenticity always comes back through them. That's what makes it. When you get something from the Franklin Mint, son, it comes with a certificate of authenticity, and they probably threatened to pull that shit. They were like. This is getting shady, because I saw some information where around that third contest, the Waterworld game, like you said, got mailed out kind of weird, and ultimately at the contest of it, I think they offered like some of the folks like a payoff of sorts, like the guys that had won some of the first couple games, because I think ultimately that was leading up to that go for the final prize, the sword, and so I heard they paid them out $15,000, and. Yeah, that seems like a screw. And like if you had a big $50,000 sword like on the line, there was a lot of
negative air around the whole, the whole way it played out with this contest.
Well, let me do
the way this contest, there was a lot of negative feedback and backlash because, and I think the lawyers of Atari even came in and said, hey, you guys need to finish this contest because if you don't, there could be, lawsuits and so on. And I think that's where they started, it's rumored, doing these payouts, right? To get the contestants to just be like, hey guys, we're just going to give you $15K and will you agree to just call it a day? And if anyone asks to continue the contest, you'll say no. And a lot of those types of dealings were going on. It's apparently, allegedly.
Yeah, I saw that, and I could see how I'd probably take the money because ultimately, even if you got it, like we kind of went through, unless you took that approach, like the one guy of just kind of hanging on to it as a family heirloom, you're gonna sell it and probably get $15,000 anyway, and you might not win the sword. So even if you did stay in the contest, but. If they sold 500,000 copies, I bet them fucking games were $40 a piece back in them days. So, what they had $20 million probably just they made off one of them games. What the hell? How did they crash? And I can see how they got to the point where they were doing something this opulent, where it's just let's make a sword of silver,
Yeah, we kind of.
Oh, plus, man, all that freaking booger sugar back there in the freaking 80s, man.
They were doing all kinds of wild shit.
They're probably.
What fucking golden crested, diamond plated, diamond plated. Got that wrong. Diamond crusted, gold plated, fucking silver sword. No problem.
Yeah, we'll call it Franklin Mint.
Bring it up.
Dude, this is insane. But so ultimately, though. We don't know. It's still pretty much established. The first one probably got melted down, and I think I heard the old boy say maybe the sword off of it or something. And
apparently because on that talisman there's a sword hanging on the front, and he kept that apparently.
He's got that on a chain
to stir his drink, stir his cocktails.
And then
it's just a little sword.
Yeah,
I won.
Number two. The guy held on to, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one the guy said family heirloom, because that's not a bad thought. Because I would imagine since the 80s, the value of just the gold and the silver and all that have gone up since then. And the family gets on hard times or whatever. Tornado hits the house or whatever. We sell the sword, the
talisman.
Yeah, we sell the talisman.
What did he get? He got a chalice. The second guy got a chalice.
And so in the third one, sounds like that was about the time that the crash had hit. Money got tight. They paid off a few people, a little bit of cash here and there. Somebody new come in, bought the company. Probably he could make all the rules at that point. He's like, I'll be taking this sword. And yeah, but we don't know.
Well, let's we're getting close to wrapping up this episode here. Let's finish this here. What is the legacy of Swordquest? The Swordquest series remains a legendary story in the annals of gaming history. Despite the abrupt end of the contest, the games themselves are remembered for their ambition and the unique concept of integrating video games with real-life treasure hunts. Collectors and gaming historians still search for information about the missing prizes, and the story has become a symbol of the early days of video gaming, where the boundaries of what games could be were being pushed in exciting and sometimes unpredictable ways. In 2017, Atari even announced a new Swordquest comic series, reigniting interest in the original games and the mystery of the lost treasures. However, the whereabouts of the prizes, especially the Sword of Ultimate Sorcery, remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in gaming history.
Fuck.
What makes the most sense to me is, yes, maybe not Jack Tramiel himself, maybe, but somewhere in the leadership of whoever purchased Atari, probably, just incorporated those assets into the new company, or or just took them and had them sent back to the mint to be melted and sold them back to the Franklin Mint perhaps, or did something with them to recuperate losses, or just to reincorporate that those I'm sure they just converted those prizes into some sort of a asset that they could actually use. You
would think like
that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Not to sound all like practical.
Well, there had to be a practical moment when the sale took place. Like I feel like bean counters would have been involved at some point, and they would have had to establish a true value for those things and who owned them and whether or not they were being transferred with the sale.
Mm-hmm. I just don't see how it could be possible that that Atari wouldn't have owned them, as the contest promoters, organizers, runners, managers, and everything. And if they're going to, give prizes to their gamers, it just makes the most sense to me. But there could have been some sort of arrangement there, maybe for some tax purposes, or what do I know, that that they had the Franklin Mint directly award those things to these folks. The first two, at least.
And I think the biggest mystery sort of lies in the sword, because yes, you can see that Atari would own it, but the two guys that have already won the first two contests sort of have a little bit of a claim. They've established a 1 in 5 chance or 1 in 4 chance of winning it. So you think there might be more to these? You think there might be more to? What are their names? I think
here?
Especially if I was those guys, I would be like, I'm the baddest. I got the quickest thumbs in the West, and that's my sword.
Well, not in the case, and this is interesting. I wasn't going to bring this up because it's not really relevant to the mystery, but gamers were very disappointed with Atari about this. It was kind of like, well, what the heck? But the second winner. Well, let me backtrack. So when they did the second contest around the game Fireworld, a lot more like people figured it out, and there were way more contestants that sent in the right answers than in the first game. I think there were like way more than like 50, and they could only take 50 tops.
Yeah.
So basically what they did was they asked all of the contestants that correctly solved the puzzle to like send in an essay about why they loved the game. And then out of those essays, they picked like on some very subjective basis, like, okay, you guys win. And the whole argument there was, well, that's fucked up because
they moved the goalpost.
Well, yeah, I mean, did we win these games because of our technical talent as gamers, or because we wrote an essay that you happen to like? It was kind of like, hey, you're judging this now off of a completely different skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, when that makes total sense. So a lot of people, I think the vibe was that the winner of the second contest, Michael Rideout, was kind of like, he wrote the best essay. That was kind of like the vibe.
Running a contest is a lot harder than people think. Like you need a like almost like a judging.
You got to think of everything. You got to think of everything.
I had to run like a fishing casting contest once, dude, and like those dads, it was like kids, and the dads like were ready to kill me by the time it was over. Like the first kid like launched one in the woods, and I let him do it again, and the other guys were like, "My boy gets to need to go again." I was
oh god. Yeah, I'm sure it's not as easy as we can all.
Yeah, so you can imagine with a sword like that, like all that is the prizes. Wow, yeah, and video game contests are pretty weird too. Like especially in that day and age. Like I just wonder how they manage that, and because I heard like that first one was over in like 48 minutes or so. Like he had won, once they all went at it and. How did
smoked him?
Yeah. Where's my crown?
One of the first cases where someone got smoked.
Yeah, I'll be taking this.
I wonder if when it was all over, I wonder if he stood up and was like, "GG, motherfuckers." Now where's my talisman? And that's a wrap. Oh man, we gotta.
He hit it that hard.
We should wrap this one up, Chuck. Do you have any final conclusions about this?
I like to think that sword's
Sword
still
Quest
out there
mystery?
somewhere. I'm still looking for it. I'm gonna keep an eye
I kind of
out
like
for
your
it.
theory that maybe one of the first two winners had like a private phone call where they were like, "Hey guys, you ain't just getting away like that easy.
This is my attorney.
Here's my mailing address."
Yeah, say hello to my friend Saul. And my
80s.
attorney, and like he'd like to talk about this sword. Yeah, I would want something, and I don't know. I'd probably money would probably fix that, and I hope they didn't melt it down because it's awesome that they created it.
Yeah. Well, I think we could invite everyone. If you ever see any garage sales out there, any antique shops, you might take a peek. And if you see a pure silver sword encrusted with gold, with diamonds, rubies, sapphires, all that shit.
Is that the Sword of Ultimate Sorcery?
Don't offer more than $2.
Dang.
I'm just kidding.
Dang.
But yeah, pick that up. Well, if you have any theories about these prizes, these treasures that are still out there, perhaps, reach out to us. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your theories are. And definitely, if you like the content, if you enjoy the episodes, a review, a subscribe, whatever your platform of choice lets you do, that would be super awesome. It gets us out there. It helps us beat the algorithm to get out to more gamers, just like you guys. So, you can tune in and stuff when you're maybe playing like a slow burn crafting game or like something like that, when you just want to, I don't know, join the convo and get some laughs in while you're gaming.
Right on. You're dusting your Franklin Mint collectibles or something like.
Yeah, throw on some new wave gaming.
Nice.
All right. We'll wrap it up with that. Fucking love you, Chuck.
Love you too, man.
Love you, fellow gamers.